Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and I got a new TV last weekend and I figured I would tell you about it. So I picked up an LG UF8500. This is a 60-inch 4K television. I was looking for something 4K, but not that expensive, at least as compared to some of the newer OLED sets that are coming out. So this one was about $1,800 for the 60-inch set. There's a 65, I think, that's available for about $500 more. But for my room, 60 inches looked probably to be about right. And I'm really pretty happy with it overall. There are a few issues with it, given that it's an LED set. I'm going to step through all of those in a minute. So pretty basic hardware, very nice thin design, very thin bezels on it. It is very attractive unit overall. I have it standing up on a TV stand, as you can see here. I actually had to buy a new TV stand the evening I got the TV because I didn't realize my old stand wouldn't fit it. So I had to run up to Sears and almost in the middle of the night to go grab myself a compatible stand. But we solved that crisis and got everything up and running very nicely. But it's an attractive unit. Only 3 HDMI ports on it though. So I tend to like a little bit more on my televisions. But you know, I have a receiver up here, also an AV receiver that I can run a lot of things through. So I've got the inputs kind of taken care of. But if you have a lot of stuff that you plug in, like a lot of game consoles and things, you might want to get one of those switch boxes or something so that you can get a little bit more out of it. It has a couple of USB ports. I'm having some issues getting the media compatibility figured out, especially with 4K video. So I have a Sony 4K camera I reviewed a few weeks ago that I've been trying to get onto that television set. I'm going to probably need to do some transcoding on my computer in order to get those videos to play on here. So I got to keep tweaking that moving forward. The interface is really nice on this. So this is WebOS. Now, if you're familiar at all with WebOS, this is what once powered the Palm Pre. And they have a mouse here that you can see, and you can control it with the remote. So you just kind of wave the remote around, kind of like a Wiimote actually. It has that same kind of feel to it. And you can even browse the web. They have a web browser on here. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but it does work. I mean, I don't think I'm going to spend a lot of time, reading the news on my television set, but it actually looks pretty nice. I'm pretty impressed with it, partly because you have such a high resolution here, so it looks very nice. The accuracy on the pointer here is actually pretty good, so I've been pretty happy with that. I'm actually really pleased just with the interface overall. It's very simple. It's very snappy and responsive, so you can switch between apps here very quickly. We've got a YouTube thing kind of running almost in the background here. I can go back to the menu here. Netflix is sitting there in the background also. Maybe I'll start up something on Netflix so you can get a feel for how fast this comes up here. So we'll just play this episode here and let that spin up. This might be a low def. Let's say it's HD, so we'll let this come on. But there you go. It's up and running on Netflix already, so pretty quick to respond there. We'll pop back into YouTube. There is some great 4K footage on YouTube, and I've been using. It's funny. I was thinking I probably would be using my Shield TV, which has a 4K YouTube player on it, but I haven't been. I've been using the apps that are built into the television for watching a lot of the content on here. It really works quite nicely. The YouTube app here is tremendous. There's some great 4K footage to test out. You can see here. Let me see if I can get rid of the menu here. You can see kind of how sharp it is. When you look at it through my camera there. It's hard to convey how nice this looks because it's really remarkable how sharp everything is. It really is noticeably better than you would see on a 1080p set, especially when you get up to this size and kind of at the distance that I'm sitting from it. Having those 4 times the resolution really does make a difference here, and some of this footage has been great. The first, my first day with the television, I actually didn't shoot video that I was planning to shoot because I wanted to sit here and watch some of this 4K footage all day, so it really does look nice on there. The picture is nice and sharp, as you can see. The color is great. The darks are really nice. Typically with these LED sets, you run into an issue with the blacks not being really true black. And my last television, I was about 7 or 8 years old. I had a 720p Pioneer Elite Plasma that was just awesome for watching movies on because when things were black on the screen, they were pretty much that color. The LED sets, like the LCDs before them, have some backlight issues that often come into play, and they're doing a lot to try to mitigate that on this set. They're not all the way there. So if you're watching movies like Star Wars, where you've got these star fields and whatnot, you are going to see backlight bleed around the corners of the television. I've got a couple of images. I'm trying to get a good example of it that I can photograph well. It's maybe hard to convey on the video here, but if you are sensitive to backlight bleed, you are going to see it on this set. And I thought maybe there was something wrong with mine. I went on the AVS forums and looked around. It's just an issue with this technology. This is an IPS display, so the viewing angle is great, but one of the downfalls of IPS is that you do get that backlight bleed. Now, what they do have on here is what's called localized dimming. So what it'll do is kind of detect what's on screen, and you can actually see the corners of the screen have that backlight bleed kind of disappear. So it's actively trying to adjust the backlight to prevent those things from happening. But when you're watching one of those widescreen movies like Star Wars at a 2.35 to 1 aspect ratio, you will have black bars on the top and bottom of the screen, and you will see some of the backlight bleed there. So it was very annoying when I first got it. I've gotten to kind of get used to it, which is hard for me to say because I went from a plasma that did not have that to this, but the 4K image is really, really nice on here. So that was something that I was able to make a sacrifice for. And I think in a couple of years when the OLEDs get down to this price point, I might be ready to move up to that. But for the price, I think the picture quality on here is really, really nice. Now, what I did when I went out researching these televisions, I'm a techie, but I don't get really technical with my televisions. I really look to see what looks good to me. And I can tell you this looks great to me. There are some reviewers who very favorably reviewed the color clarity and the definition on this set, including Robert Herren, who's somebody I've been following for years, who I think he still writes for PC Magazine, but he also has his own site, which I'll link below, so you can check out some of his recommendations. And this one really kind of fell into that spot there for me. Now, one of the things that I did on here was actually turn off all of the motion interpolation stuff. So what happens with these TV sets is that they try to make everything look so smooth and crystal clear, which is fine, but if you're watching a movie that was shot at 24p, 24 frames per second, that's the speed of film, it makes those films look like video, like the soap opera effect, they call it. And the TV has it on by default. They call that true motion. So one of the things that you'll want to do here when you get the set, let me go back into the menu here. One of the things that you'll do when you get this, at least what I did, is I went in and turned that setting off for that true motion here. I think it's in their advanced controls. They really bury it maybe it's in the next one over here. They really kind of bury it in the menu system here, in the picture options. But I would turn that true motion off just because it makes a lot of things that shouldn't look the way they do look the way they do, and I just don't like it. So I turned that off. I did set the local dimming to high to try to minimize that impact that I had with some of those things on there. And I'm running it in game mode for my Xbox One. And I'm very happy to say that there's very, very little noticeable delay between the time that I push a button on the Xbox controller and things happen on screen. So putting it into game mode disables a lot of the, some of the video effects and other filters that it's putting onto the image and gives you pretty much what's coming out of the Xbox. And it's very, I'll tell you what, I think the delay is actually really very minimal to the point where I can't even detect it. Now I'm getting older, so some of you other gamers who are really looking for the ultimate input delay TV, I'm not sure if this one is it or not, but for me it was good enough. I can play my Grand Theft Auto like I do maybe once or twice a month, and it's just fine there. So that's there. There's a bunch of color and picture settings. I haven't calibrated the set yet. The most intricate settings are the color temperature settings. I don't think there's a lot of the granular kind of controls that you might see on a more, more higher end set, but you can kind of get a feel for what I'm scrolling through here to see some of those things. Again, I'm not a huge tweaker on my set here. I'm not certified, of course, to know what is supposed to look good or not. But I think I can get the calibration disc in there and get it just perfect for me, and I think that's how it's going to go. So could I recommend this TV? Definitely. I think it's, for what it is, given that it's LED, we're going to see this kind of issue everywhere, out there on the LED sets, but the viewing angle on it is outstanding. The picture quality, especially in 4K, is mind-blowing. And I really am happy with how good the TV set looks no matter where in the room that I'm sitting. So I think for having friends over, watching sports or movies or whatever, this is going to be just fine for gaming too, because everyone is going to see pretty much the same image no matter where they're sitting in the room. And I think that is pretty important there. So pretty happy with that. I like the remote and its little mouse function there. The big issue with the remote though is that it doesn't have a backlight on it. So that's something that I know, at least for me, I like having a backlight on my remote control. This one doesn't have it, so you have to kind of look at the remote in the light and kind of get a feel for where everything is. Then you can kind of take it from there. So that is the UF8500, kind of a brief overview of my initial thoughts on it. I really like it, except the fact that backlight bleed is there, and it doesn't go away. It goes away in spurts and everything else. It tries its best, but you will see some backlight bleed on it. But the picture quality is really outstanding, and I think I'm going to get used to it, given just how good everything else is on it. This is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.